If right now you are finding it harder to create success and you're getting frustrated and you're just no longer willing to hustle, to self abandon, to sacrifice your well being, I want you to stay tuned to this episode today because I am going to explain exactly why so many people are in the cycle of trying to create success in a new way, but just not getting there. Okay, because really we're moving into this new era right now, this new paradigm where it's not about hustle. Now, that's not saying we don't work, absolutely, but it's more from a creation. It's more from getting paid for the value we bring rather than hustling and grinding. Okay. And I'm going to go a little deep into this. I'm going to bring into some neuroscience as well, because there's really good reasons why. There really are logical reasons why you may be feeling like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to do things a new way and I'm just not getting there. Okay. So stay tuned. So I'm going to talk about how the human brain actually works. The human brain is actually created to be programmed. Like you'll often hear me say, you've been programmed to. And it's actually because that's how the human brain is created. It's created to be programmed. They say humans make decisions about 30 to 35,000 times a day. Okay, that's the amount of decisions that we make in a day. So the reason we want our brain to be programmed is because we have to go on autopilot. Like imagine if you had to be like every second of the day going, okay, I have to beat my heart. Like my heart has to beat, so I got to be aware of it. I've got to breathe. Imagine if every time you wanted to brush your teeth, you had to think, okay, well, I actually consciously, okay, I have to find my toothbrush, pick it up, put the toothpaste on it. Like you'd have to constantly, like it would just, you wouldn't live because you'd be so busy making conscious decisions. So we make 30 to 35,000 decisions a day, but a lot of them are on autopilot, right? And that is for efficiency. That is actually how the human brain was created. It was created to be programmed, which is brilliant and amazing. The problem is when consciousness is changing, as it is right now, when humans are changing, what we don't really see at a deep enough level is we actually really have to reprogram our brain. It actually goes beyond our brain, it's our body as well, but I'm going to try and keep this simpler for this video. So now if you think back to when you were born, okay, we were all brought up a certain way. Now, we all have unique circumstances in how we were brought up and what we were taught to believe, but a lot of the conditioning in the world is around this is how you create success, okay? So I know when I was little, it was, do well in school, go to university, get a good degree, get a good job at a good company, work hard, you'll get your pension, you retire, eventually you die. That's life. That's what a lot of us were taught. So, what we didn't realize at the time, of course, is that we were being programmed for that. So, what I mean is, we were told that's what success looked like. Now, that's a version of success. That's a version. That's really just a story. That's all it really is. But what happened is, this was a story that was widely spread. Okay. And so, what you didn't realize is that we were believing it without questioning it. The reason why we didn't question it was because everybody around us was saying the same story and we saw evidence. So you could see maybe your parents, maybe your parents' friends, whatever it is, following this path, getting a promotion, getting a raise, buying the house, having more success. Like all these things we saw constantly reinforcing this idea that this is how you create success. And so it's actually not the truth of what you need to do to create success, but it was something that was programmed into us. So for a lot of us, we may have questioned it at times. I know I certainly did. But because there was overwhelming evidence and everybody was believing and everybody was doing it, we just adopted it. We really just didn't stop to question it. So if you took that path, okay, if you decided to go on that path and you went to school and you've got a degree and blah, 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 and you were able to create success, the part that we don't realize and what we need to realize right now is a lot of the reason why you were able to create success following that path is because you actually believed it. You believed that was the way, even if you didn't like it, even if you hated it. We believed it. And this is ingrained in our society and in our culture. This is how you create success. But all it's really doing is it's saying, here's a story. This is a version. That's all it is. It's a story of how you create success, but spread widely, so widely out that we don't question it because we think it's the truth when it's actually not. It's just a belief system that has been adopted and passed down from generation to generation to generation. That's all it is. The story of what success is just a story of how you create it. It's all been fabricated. Okay. And the thing with when you create a story and people actually believe it, there's evidence. And that's what we have right now. We have had a lot of evidence and a lot of stories around this is what you must do. This is what you must do. So we need to really see this clearly. We need to see how much all of our brains were programmed to that and literally programmed for decades. You think about all the consistent messaging you receive all day, every day of your entire life. But what's happened in the last few years? Well, a few things have happened. The story's been ramped up to the point of it's no longer just about getting a degree. It's like you've got to hustle harder, you've got to work harder, you've got to self-abandon, you've got to sacrifice. It's amped up now. It's not just show up at work. Like I can think of like my parents' generation, and before that, it was more of, yeah, you showed up, but you didn't like kill yourself for your job. You didn't sacrifice everything, right? It wasn't that way. But now we've gotten to a place in the planet where that's the new narrative. That's the new story. You must hustle. You must sacrifice. And we see it everywhere. And this is what's happening right now is people's mindsets around success has been slowly changing over the years. We've just been adopting these beliefs without really realizing it. And because we're going on autopilot, remember I talked about how we program our brains, we don't question it. We think this is the only way. It's the only way that we see because that's what we've been shown and that's what we've been told. But remember, it's just a story. It is not the truth. It goes against quantum mechanics, diabolically against quantum mechanics. It goes against who you are as a soul. You're not meant to grind and hustle. And if you're still watching this, I know you know this. But here's where it gets tricky, okay? If you think to yourself, for however many decades you've been alive for, and so how many days that is, how much you have been programmed to believe you must hustle, even if in your brain's like, I know this isn't true. We have to see how much we've been programmed. And the thing about programming is it eventually doesn't just go in, it doesn't stay in your brain. It actually goes into your body. So your whole body believes this is how you create success. Okay. So we've been taught, I think, for a long time that it's all in your brain. It's all in your mind. We've just focused on our logical mind, not realize that we're actually programming the cells of our body as well, which is why when you try to do something different that goes against this belief that has been going on in your life, your entire life, it feels unsafe because your body's reacting. Your body's been programmed to believe it is safer to hustle. Crazy, isn't it? Like it's actually, but it's brilliant. The human body and the whole humans are just remarkable. Your energy field, it emits this hustle frequency, but this is all connected. And so when you do try to change, and you're like, I'm tired of hustling. I'm tired of working myself to the bone. I'm tired of being exhausted. There's got to be a better way. We're working against decades of programming. So if you think about it that way, the analogy that came to mind, when you're trying to change how you create success, imagine you are walking down a street. You're the lone person walking down a street, and there are literally thousands of people coming at you in the other direction. This is what it's like. So you're walking forward with this new belief that I don't have to hustle. I show up, I create value, I get paid, there's abundance. And all the programming and everybody who believes it is coming in the opposite direction. You're just this one person with this belief system that you're holding on to, hoping that it's true, because that's what we do. We have to see the magnitude of the programming in the opposite direction. Because then you realize, and this is what I'm sharing this for, is it takes consistently creating new neural pathways, creating new ways of being, creating things for a period of time. People think, oh, I'm just going to adopt this new way of doing things and life is going to miraculously change. And I would love for that to be true. I mean, I would love it. But everything I've learned is that's not the way, because we literally have to not only reprogram our brain, but the cells in our body. We have to do this massive, I call it like a brainwashing in the other direction. We've been brainwashed one way. We literally have to go backwards and like re-brainwash ourselves. This is wild, but we actually do have the power to do it. How do you do it? This is what I want to dive into a little bit now, because if you're in a place right now, you're feeling stuck. So first of all, know this deeply, is that you're going to have to hold the belief that you can create success easier for a lot longer than you would like to. You're going to have to hold that for a lot longer than you think you should or want to. Because remember, and you might be thinking to yourself, like, I created success so easy before, like it happened before. Why isn't it happening now? We have to see that before, when you were creating success in that old conditioning, in that old system, you were completely bought into it. You didn't have to change your belief systems. You already believed it. So it happened easier. Now, the work isn't so much the work you're doing, it's really your belief system, your identity to this is a lot deeper than what I can say in this short video today, right? There's a lot more to this. It's yes, your brain, it's your somatic, your body, your energetic field, it's all of those things. But the reason why it was easier to create success before, because you bought into it. We all did. Because we didn't know that was just a story. But now you're creating a new story. It's really what you're doing. You're divorcing the old story and you're creating a new story. But what you have to do is you have to keep adding to that story, because that story now has to get bigger than the story you were told originally. This is a lot of the work that we have to do when we want to create success a new way and a new paradigm. It's not the physical output. It's building this new story. So our mind feels safe with it. Our body feels safe with it. It's always about taking action 100%. But it's all of these things. So it is affirmations 100%. Affirmations are powerful, but they're only powerful if you mix them with taking action and energetic work. Okay, these are like, it's a recipe, really. It's a whole bunch of different things: reclaiming your power, choosing alignment, all of these things. So it's, things you can do right now. If you're sitting here going, okay, great, I want to build this story. Lots of things you can do. Yes, do affirmations, but again, on their own, they are not enough. It's like saying, I want to bake a cake, and I'm just going to focus on the flour, and I'm going to put the flour in the oven, and it's going to turn into a cake. It's not. Okay, we need everything together. So yes, affirmations. You have to literally at times almost like brainwash yourself. And I use that term lightly, but in kind of tongue in cheek, with new frequencies, with new ways of doing things. And I'm going to explain something that I do all the time to kind of really ground this. So when I'm wanting to create a new belief, a new story, which is what this is, a new story, like say the story is money grows on trees, abundance is easy, all my relationships are harmonious and reciprocal. I don't know, pick something, right? What I'll do is I will find books, resources, audios, videos, YouTube's, podcast, anything where I can find somebody that supports that belief. And what I do is I spend a period of time immersing myself in reading about this, listening to somebody, like just because you think about it, you have to look at it from this perspective that the world is telling you the opposite messages on the news, on the radio, in conversations, at work, wherever, with your friends. You have to then have enough of the other story coming in to your consciousness, to your awareness. So there have been times when I have literally listened for 2 to 3 hours to somebody. And what'll happen is, yes, you are creating new beliefs, new neural pathways. But if you listen to somebody long enough who has embodied, and this is important, who has embodied what they are speaking about, they're not just speaking from a theoretical point of view, but they've actually lived it, your state will start to change. Your energetic frequency will start to change. But what's really important is that this person has lived it and truly believes it, isn't just throwing it out there as a great theory. And the only way to know that is to feel into their energy. This is so key right now. We are going to be seeing in a big way a lot of like personal development gurus and these types where they've shared a lot of stuff, but they've never really lived it. They're just like preaching, but they're not actually walking the talk. I'm talking about people who have walked the walk. Okay, they've actually followed through, because what happens is we have embodied that, we have it in our energetic field, and you can connect in with that energy and you will start to change your state. I'm going to give you a really cool example of something that happened to me to really land this. So this was a few years ago now, when I was really working on my money blocks, mindset around money, abundance, and all these things. And I was heading out for the day, and I had a couple hours of driving, and I was actually going for a walk along the seawall as well. I live in Vancouver. And what I did was I wanted to really change my state. Like, I was doing this work. And so I went over to my podcast on my phone and I just searched. I searched for wealth consciousness or something like that. And I downloaded a bunch of podcasts. And I started driving. And the very first one I listened to, and by the way, when I did this, I just asked my intuition what was the best one to listen to. Okay, it's really important. You're not using your brain. You're like, what will be good for me? And I started to listen to this woman. And I listened to her for 2 hours straight. I listened to podcast after podcast after podcast. I drove, I walked, and it was all about abundance. It was all about wealth consciousness. It was all about all these things. And I remember I was walking along the seawall and my state completely changed. It completely changed. I'm like, oh my God, look at the water. Look how many drops of water make an ocean. Look at the sand. Look at all the, all the grains of sand that make up a beach. Like, I was just in awe. Look at all the blades of grass. There's abundance everywhere. And I was vibing so high, and I was in this state of total abundance after listening to this woman for 2 hours. And this is what happened next. This is why I love this story. So after my walk, I'm a coffee person, and I love cute cafes. And there was a very cute, kind of like a French Parisian type cafe here in Vancouver. So I went in there, and I only typically ever order coffees. I'm not a huge pastry person, but I go in there and I order my coffee, and I get to the counter to pay. And the guy says to me, he says, we just baked a batch of croissants and one of them's too small to sell. Would you like it? And of course I knew it was a sign. I was vibrating in abundance, that literally I was gifted something for free. Now, yes, it was only $5 or $6. And yes, croissants aren't my favorite, but it's not the point. I was vibrating so high in the frequency of abundance and overflow that I literally got gifted a free croissant. It's not a coincidence. So we have to really understand that we have to reprogram our brain to this new way. So right now you're like, I'm doing all I can do and I can't seem to get there. Take a step back from what you're doing, the output, like the actual steps you're taking in the physical world, just for a moment, just for a period of time. And where can you work on your state of being and your beliefs? And this does take consistency. I'm not going to sit here and say you can do this one and done. That is not possible. And that's the point of this whole video today, because I think we think that, well, I just know there's a new way. I believe in it, so it's going to happen. It doesn't work that way, because your subconscious, remember, 30,000 to 35,000 decisions that you make in a day. And most of those decisions are really rooted in that old story. We are now focusing on the new story. So you have to really surround yourself with the new story. That's how you do this. And, ironically, with this woman, Amazing lady. She actually ended up being my mentor. I actually ended up doing a bunch of work with her. She was phenomenal, absolutely freaking phenomenal. But I knew she was somebody I needed to work with because I knew if 2 hours after listening to her, I can get a free croissant, like this is going to change my whole outlook on wealth and abundance and everything else, right? Wealth consciousness. So this is the work. Create a new story. Like even ask yourself, like, what do I want my story to be? How do I want my operating system to be? This is something that I've really been focusing on lately is like, what do I want my operating system of life to look like? What do I want my reality to look like? Ask yourself. I created this belief that every dollar I spend, 1,000 comes back to me. I kind of like that. It's fun. How do you want it to work out? Like every time I leave the house, I meet somebody cool and nice and kind and interesting. Like create your own operating system. Now we got to keep bringing ourselves back to it. But there's been such we're in such a period right now where we have to change our stories because they're not serving us. And we all have them. We all have stories about how life has been. And here's the thing. Those stories are valid. Most of the time, those stories are created from a lived experience. The stories of lack or scarcity or tragedy or trauma, they're true most of the time, right? However, they're not helping, right? And if we want to move into this place where we are more joyful, more abundant, feeling more fulfilled, we have to start creating a new story, and every single day anchoring into that story. And just like, and sometimes, there's times when I will just be like closing my eyes and just allowing something just to come into my body. Like I just believe this and just go breathe into it. One other last suggestion I'm going to give before I end this video here is something I've done lately is, and you can do this really easy. Go to Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you are. There is a ton of music out there that's upbeat, happy music that is like, they kind of call it manifestation music. It's just really fun music that shares lots of really positive messages. So when I'm listening to music now, I think the one I'm loving right now is called Happy Place. It's catchy, it's fun, it's got a great beat to it. I'm in my car, I open the sunroof and I'm listening to this song called Happy Place. Like this is changing my state. When I get somewhere, I'm already happier. I'm already vibrating higher. Like there's just so many little ways we can do this, but it takes the consistency, it takes the commitment, and you will see a shift. You absolutely will see a change in how you achieve success. But we all have to realize again that the old story is a very prevalent story. And we're just creating new stories. So what do you want to create? What do you want your life to look like? All right, beautiful soul. I hope this was super helpful, and I will talk to you soon.